I've already drank more than I wanted to.
Welcome to Just Frank.
And we're here. We're drunk.
Just Frank, the show where four middle-aged men rank their top songs for that week's topic. Because let's be honest, we just want to hear the opinion of four middle-aged men.
Worry about the glare.
This week's topic is
Van Halen.
Now for our inaugural, our first, episode. One of dozens come. By the way, my name is Joe. I am joined by Chris and Jimmy and Dink. And if you're not watching this on YouTube and you've got it on other socials or other platforms, please catch up with our show. Like I said, this week's topic is Van Halen, right? We're talking all three forms of Van Halen, right? We got Dave, we got the Ed, and then we got the Gary. And we're here in the middle, we got the Gary. But we got Jimmy start off this week. Jimmy, it's all on you, man.
All right.
This is going to be the world's shortest series ever.
All right, so the whole concept is we pick our top four songs and we give an honorable mention. So I guess we're going to start with song number 4 is "Good" or "Girl Gone Bad." This song is just amazing. The whole tapping build up, the whole the drums are coming up, just the way the whole song sounds. It's like classic Van Halen, and they don't have a lot of keyboards in this one for this album. Dave's voice is just top notch.
Dave's voice in 1984 is just perfect, dude. That's his best. That and "Eat 'Em and Smile," which is not Van Halen, but those two albums I think are his best vocal performances.
Yeah. Eat 'Em and Smile's voice is really good.
And the leads on this, what was that? The leads on this are amazing. The harmonies are just killer. That song 4 for me.
You can't go wrong in 1984, man.
Are you ready for somebody to rebut? What was that?
Oh, I thought you said something.
No, I thought I said his vocals on "Eat 'Em and Smile." Sadly, because it's not Van Halen.
Well, the best part was all three of us just stood there stone faced.
Right. Fuck. No.
Is someone saving me? Is someone saving me?
No, dude, it's hard to go wrong with any song of anything out the Van Halen catalog. Well, there's a couple maybe on the later part of their careers that on one particular album. But 84, right. Dude, that's such a great album.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
it's hard to go wrong.
When we started talking about this topic, I thought I knew my top 4 just off the top of my head. So I went back and I listened to every album except for 3. And my whole list completely changed. My third song, "Spanked" from
wow.
This song is just killer. The whole rhythm section starts up. The harmonies, their normal harmonies are like subdued on this. Sammy's voice is killer. The biggest change in guitar sound for all of Van Halen, I think, happened on this song. So that's it for me. Alex's groove, you can never go wrong with Alex. And I love how he closes out the song 1-900 Spanked.
There's a lot of people that hate that song just because
it's an interesting choice.
And this will probably get brought up later on too, because a lot of, especially Dave fans, because there's still those two camps of Dave and Sammy, and there's one guy in Alameda who's a Gary guy. Dude, I love Gary. Don't get me wrong. I'm not ripping on Gary. That wasn't Gary's fault. That was Eddie's fault. That was the all-time low. I'm not blaming Gary. I was excited when Gary joined the band. I'm like, okay, Sammy's gone. Gary makes sense. Extreme was very Van Halen-esque. I was excited for it. Again, not Gary's fault. Even Michael Anthony says not Gary's fault. But a lot of people don't like Sammy's lyrics, which, I mean, Dave is the better lyricist of the two. I mean, because Dave, you don't know what he's talking about. They sounds cool though. It's all gibberish, but it's not about chicks, money, or wine, and that's pretty much what he drinks, or drinking, I should say.
Right.
Well, this song actually, to me, speaks of Dave's like whole kind of feeling and vibe. And I think he embodies DLR on this song.
Well, that's why I always get a kick out of it too, because people rip on Sammy for saying about sex and women all the time. It's like, what do you think Dave's saying about a lot of times? You know,
all the time. Like, and you realize when you go back and like, I don't know if you guys did the same thing when I didn't change my list; it was already locked in. But I did go back and listen to a whole bunch of shit. Right? Well, right. Anyway, but I did go back and listen to a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, and it's all Dave says about his chicks, which is fine.
And cars,
yeah, cars, yeah,
and cars,
yeah. And cars.
All right, number 2. This is the biggest shocker for me because I would have never put anything from this album in a top 4 list. Mine, All Mine.
Really?
Wow. You know, I like the song, but I'm surprised the top 4. Why is that?
Well, really, it's Alex primarily on this. He's got a shuffle behind the note. Sammy's voice on this is killer. And actually the lyrics are what really, really grabbed me on this. There's a line that says, you got Allah in the East, you got Jesus in the West. Christ, what's a man to do? And then it goes into this whole thing. I thought the lyrics are really brilliant. Yeah,
I think he does good stuff, man. Plus, it's one of the few songs where they're not using a drum machine.
Right. Alex's sound in this is awesome.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm not a big fan of OU812, so this song really kind of kicked my ass. I love it.
It's my least favorite of the Dave and Sammy eras.
I would agree with that. Me too.
I like the album as a whole. There's some songs.
I really like Sammy Hagar's voice, so I'm not one of those haters. But I do not I don't really like OU812. I dislike most of the songs on it.
All right, for number 1, I went old school. Somebody get me a doctor.
Wow, number 1.
Number 1. It's one of their awesome. It's one of their shortest songs at 2 minutes 51 seconds.
Yeah.
I changed this at the last minute. It was originally going to be DOA, and I changed it to Somebody Get Me a Doctor.
Both awesome choices.
Yeah.
Classic Van Halen sound. Those harmonies are just monster.
Michael Anthony, baby.
Yeah, Alex brings everything that Eddie does to the forefront, and I don't know. I can jam this song all the time.
I think that's the advantage of having 2 drummers in the band, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I guess my honorable mentions, Chris was talking earlier, I'm going to say 2 songs. So this is Love. This is a song that I've always loved. It's just really subtle. It's really bass-driven. Eddie's got a clean tone, and it's the other one is Can't Get This Stuff No More. I was so excited.
Oh yeah, dude.
97 when David Lee Roth.
Those 2 songs off the Greatest Hits album are killer. It just shows you what they could have done if Dave came back. It's just
yeah, and I get so excited hearing both of those songs. Those are my honorable mentions.
That was an interesting list.
So I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm very surprised at a couple of those.
Yeah, and I was saying before that I thought it would have been a bunch of songs here and there, but I actually listened to everything again, and I kept going back to these songs over and over and over. I'm like, it's got to make the list.
That's awesome. And
yeah,
you got to.
So I guess we got somebody else up now.
Dick, it's your turn, man.
I feel like a basic bitch sometimes with my lists. Like I'm the list guy, right? So I've been doing lists for 8 years. Posting them online, much to people's dismay or annoyance.
Not at all. I've loved them.
Yeah, some people love them.
Sometimes they're a little long. I'm not going to lie. I don't read them.
Yeah, they usually start out with like a 10 spot. And then I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to put them on Spotify, I want to expand it to 30 or 40 songs that I want to listen to, right? Because everyone's like, how do you know 40 songs by Firehouse or whatever? But
yeah, how dude, I get I'm the Prince guy, man. And when I said Prince songs, and you gave me your list of 100 Prince songs, I've never listed 100 Prince songs.
Yeah, no, I just kept going. I go through every album, right, and refresh some stuff that I did know and learn some other stuff.
Yeah,
and then make subfolders and.
No, man, that's
so this Van Halen one's been locked in for 8 years. And it's pretty, like, when I looked at it, I'm like, especially even more so now after you say yours, it's so basic. it's the songs that you would expect on everybody's 5 or 4. But anyway, number 4 is, and I have little quotes to begin on my notes. So my first quote for number 4 is, no, don't take them off. Don't take them off.
Keep them on.
Yeah, keep them on. So anyway, everybody wants some is number 4. Yeah, and I don't know why. Like, I just, out of that album, this song, and The Cradle Will Rock, and like some of those songs, like, it's a great album, but it's probably 4 or 5 on the Roth albums for me, but it's still great. But yeah, it's my pick. I love the tribal jungle drums to start the song.
I was just going to mention that.
Alex is awesome there. I think Roth's voice is really good in this one as well. Around the 3-minute mark, it does the drum break into that jungle stuff again, where Roth does his little rap or ramble or
vocalizings. Yeah.
Yes. And of course, this song, which I didn't even realize, since '80, it's been in a shit ton of movies. Obviously, the Linklater movie is named after it.
That
soundtrack is wicked, by the way. I didn't even realize how good that was when I was doing some research. It's got the Knack and Pat Benatar and Cheap Trick and the Cars. It's a really good soundtrack. But yeah, it was in Better Off Dead and Joe Dirt.
Claymation.
Yeah. But anyway, that's my number 4. Like, there's no real rhyme or reason as to why. It's just locked in, and it'll probably stay there forever.
It's a beautiful song.
It is a beautiful song. That's number 4. If you got nothing to say, I'm moving on to number 3. More basic shit. One break coming up. So number 3 is Clearly Unchained. Easy sing along with Hit the Ground Running. I think Eddie's awesome in this song. Obviously, this song is at the top of everybody's lists. Even Rolling Stone, actually, who their lists are, as we discussed this week, are ridiculous. But
every now and then a good one squeaks through there.
Right, and like Unchained is always near the top, which makes me want to move it down, but I can't. Right, like I said, it's kind of locked in. And I think for some Van Halen fans, it's probably the Shook Me All Night Long or the Enter Sandman or like enough of this song. You know what I mean? Like, we're so sick of it. And of course, it's the producer Ted Templeton in the Come On Dave, Give Me a Break. And in my research, I didn't realize how much stuff he's done. Like, all the Doobie Brothers, or most of the Doobie Brothers.
Yeah.
All of Nicolette Larson. Gonna take a lot of love.
Oh, wow.
Van Morrison, like all the Roth albums, like with Van Halen and Crazy from the Heat and Eat 'Em and Smile.
Well, that's why he wasn't producing 5150, because Eddie was pissed off that he was producing Eat 'Em and Smile.
Because he went with Dave, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which was funny because years prior, when Van Halen first got together, he had suggested Sammy Hagar to replace Dave because he didn't like Dave's voice at first.
Wow, I didn't know
Untrained.
That.
He didn't think that he could handle. He could handle the singing.
He thought he was a competent live singer. He thought he was a good showman, but he didn't think he could do it in the studio. So he was like, "Hey, this guy in a band called Montrose. I think he'd be good for your band."
And he was producing Montrose stuff, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yep.
Well, that's why I always wonder how much touch up there was in the studio of Dave's voice.
Well, that's how also too. That's why Michael McDonald ended up co-writing "I'll Wait" because he was best buds with Ted Templeman, and they were stuck on that song. He's like, "Hey, can you do something with this song?" And he wrote the chorus.
Right. Yeah, so he was heavy into the yacht rock.
Oh,
that's like a bad word, man.
That's like calling 90s rock grunge.
Grunge is all encompassing. Come on.
Did you say one more thing? What do you got?
Oh, no, I was just gonna say one more thing. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, one more thing. You got a comment on this? Go fuck yourself. That is gold. All right, song number 2 has been previously mentioned. For me, it is DOA. It's too bad you didn't get in yours, but that's great. I got it in mine.
Yep.
Van Halen 2 is easily my favorite Van Halen album. I know that doesn't sit well with some fans. I love that album. That's why I was excited that you got the Doctor song in there. Like I could put that whole album in as my top 5. Like there's a bunch of tracks on that I love. I think the riff in this song is great. Mike's work is wicked. The bass is wicked in this song. His background vocals are wicked in this song. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a little side story. When like Chris and I are 73s, right? So when 1984 came out in January, because it just turned 41.
Mm-hmm. Math checks out.
Math checks out, right? So we were both 9, right? 10?
Yeah.
We were 10.
10.
Not quite 11 because I'm March and you're May.
Yeah.
Just keep adding numbers. It'll work.
Yeah, no, I'm doing the math in my head. So I turned my sheet over, so I don't have my notes. I'm doing the math in my head.
That still checks out.
So 74 years ago.
Yeah, so like everyone, like I probably heard some older Van Halen, but it didn't register because I was just slowly starting to get into metal from a buddy that lived down the road. And my sister was listening to New Wave across the hall. And for us, we didn't have MTV in Canada. We had Much Music. And of course, Jump and Panama were huge, right? Mm-hmm. And myself and everybody was getting 1984 for their birthday parties and stuff. So that was my introduction to Van Halen. So I knew the big songs, but I had to go back like every other band and listen to the older stuff, right? I had to do it with AC. Every band, you had to go back. You had backwards, right? Which sucks. But I ordered, without my parents knowing, I ordered a Columbia House order to our house and got like 11 cassettes for the penny or whatever. And Van Halen 2 was one of the cassettes and fell in love with it. Mm-hmm. Listened to it on my Walkman, and it wasn't the yellow Sony one. It was like a shitty knockoff. I think it was a Koss actually. But listened to it when
You didn't have the Sport?
No, I didn't. Oh, I had the Sport later, but this is pre-Sport. Pre-Sport sounds dirty. But anyway, when I was on the riding mower, doing the lawn, when I was in bed, doing whatever, constantly listening to Van Halen, listening to that album. So then, like I said, that's why I kind of fell in love with it. I don't think it gets the love it deserves in their catalog. And I probably didn't get the love later because after I got the Columbia House order, I ordered a bunch of magazines too. And I had no way of paying for it. I was, I was like 11 or 12.
I wonder why the company went up
85 at this point when I ordered them. So I was 12, but I still didn't have a job or anything. So I ordered Stereo Review, Cycle World, Sports Illustrated, and Playboy. Bill me later, right? So my dad, like, finally I didn't get the mail once, and all these magazines and tapes are coming in the mail, and without getting into too much detail, I got in some pretty heavy shit, and my mom got to finish out the order for Columbia House so they could pay it off, which was probably the only time in the history of Columbia House an order was actually paid off.
Your dad's like, Stereo Review,
a real customer.
That's my Van Halen 2 story, how we put Columbia House out of business.
I think all 4 of us helped with that.
I was gonna say, what's the
actually, we were the only ones keeping them afloat. And then I got into college and definitely put them out of business. But anyway, if you got nothing to add on DOA, my last song is Drop Dead Legs.
Oh, yeah, baby. See, again,
that is my number one, and it goes in with what I said about 1984. I fell in love with that track. I think it's a great way to close out side 1 of the cassette. With what do you got, a minute and a half of instrumental at the end of that song. The intro is amazing. Eddie sounds great. Like, it's like it will forever be my number 1 song because that's what made me fall in love with. When everybody was talking about Panama and Jump, I was like, what about Drop Dead Legs?
Right.
And I don't think anyone ever actually went by Panama. They probably fast forwarded, flipped the tape over so they could hear Hot for Teacher and listen to the second side, right? I was like, you're missing Top Jimmy and Drop Dead Legs, man. It's the best song on the album, but whatever.
Yep.
Dude, when Panama hit the radio, okay, my family, I come from a big family, so I heard everything, every kind of style you can imagine, right? my brother was into Van Halen. He got the album, heard Panama. Oh no, this is before he got the album. When he heard it on the radio, he swore up and down they were saying animal. Animal. And I'm like, dude, it's you can hear it.
That's Def Leppard. That's Def Leppard.
And by the way, that guy used to
10 years later.
Animal, yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Anyhow, that's my Van Halen story.
Yeah. Joe, that brother used to sing in my band.
No, that different brother. Big family.
Okay.
Different brother.
How many brothers you got?
There's a lot of Burkles out there.
I played the fifth. So do they, probably. It's just a coincidence we had the same last name.
That's funny. All right, my honorable mention is covers both instrumental and my fifth song on my list. So it is back to my Van Halen 2 love, and it is Light Up the Sky.
Oh, yeah.
I think personally in my favorite songs or with this band, and it's just my opinion, of course, it is the most complete song in their catalog with every guy sounding awesome. That's like I said, that's just my opinion. The 25-second drum break at the 2:20 mark is awesome. And it's it's only 25 seconds, but it's wicked. Alex sounds amazing, and so it kind of covers, like we had talked about, are we going to do an honorable mention song, or are we going to do an instrumental? We can do whatever we want. So it kind of covers both. And again, I think Michael Anthony is amazing in this. He doesn't get enough credit, I think, in that band too.
No.
Because his background vocals are wicked, his bass is wicked.
Wasn't that whole period when Eddie was trying to erase him from history?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, yeah, dude. They actually posted on VanHalen.com back in the day a different back of Van Halen 1 with a second picture of Eddie instead of having Michael Anthony there.
Like, how vindictive is that, right? Like,
it was wow. I had no idea.
Like, that is really trying to erase him from. You can't erase him. What's next? Re-record it and with all new bass parts. Like,
again, this was early. This is like early, like internet stuff, and they got a lot of flack right away and came down like a week or two later, and they put the original one back up. And it's really hard to find, but you can find it like a really small JPEG of
all Eddie
Michael missing from Van Halen 1.
Double ed, the double eds.
Right. But anyway, that's my list, boys. And of course, I'm Team Roth. It's all Roth, no Hagar. And I don't dislike Hagar at all. I love some stuff from Sammy. Just like if I was to expand my list, like there'd be a Sammy song maybe in the top 10. But somebody give me a Doctor's Panama. Somebody give me a Doctor's coming next, and then maybe a Sammy song. But
dude, the thing about a band like Van Halen, it's hard to you can't go wrong.
On my Spotify, I have them separated into two separate lists.
I do too. I consider them two separate bands. I really do. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
No, it doesn't matter. I forget what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
Right.
Was it Sammy related? Or semi-related?
No, it was. I don't know, something you said at the end. I was going to reply to, and I don't remember what it was. Sorry.
What was it about Gary?
Was it? It wasn't about Gary.
No, and honestly, I didn't even listen to that. Like, I had to go back and listen to stuff because I don't have a list. And honestly, if you ask me in 6 months to do a top 4 for Van Halen, that might be another 4 or 3 or 2.
Oh, that is
cool. It might change.
That's a cool thing about lists. If you don't lock them in like me, they can change. I just don't let myself change.
Yep.
When it comes to
I just don't have them. So then when you guys, hey, do a list, I'm like, I got to go back and fucking listen to all this stuff.
The date's got them all categorized by date. This is my favorite Prince song, and September 12th, 1987.
That's right. Locked in. Not changing it. Erotic City, not changing it.
So is it my turn to go, actually? So,
Sure.
All right. So I picked a couple of 50 or from 5150 because that album for me is when I really discovered Van Halen. I had 1984 on vinyl, but I really wasn't listening to it. Like, I listened to Jump and what was popular, whatever I saw on Much Music, or actually I did have MTV because my sister worked at a electronics store in Bracebridge that had a satellite dish, and she would go to work and record like 8 hours of MTV on VHS and bring it home, and I would just fucking watch that when she got it home. So like the showmanship of David Lee Roth on Jump and stuff for sure, but I really got into them in 5150, and that's my number 4 song is 5150.
Oh, that's a great song.
It's the guitar at the beginning and in the middle just grabbed me. I didn't even listen to the lyrics. I just kept listening to that over again. I wore out the fucking cassette by replaying it like almost every night going to bed, listening to that album or cassette in my case. But yeah, I would lock myself in my room. My parents probably thought I was like worshiping Satan, but I would crank it and fucking do air guitar. I literally stuck an ice pick in the door because I didn't have a door lock in my bedroom door so that nobody could open the door on me while I was doing fucking air guitar.
Right, you don't want to get caught doing air guitar.
12 years old. Yeah, exactly. Are you doing drugs? No, I was doing fucking air guitar for 6 hours to fucking.
Are you touching yourself in there? No.
You can see his dad. Is that a metaphor for like masturbation?
No.
Air guitar?
Playboy books.
I do that in the bathroom. Jesus Christ, shut up.
Well, first of all, everyone glossed over the reason you have an ice pick in your bedroom.
And you wonder why she thought you were worshiping Satan. And it wasn't the music, it was the ice pick.
Yeah, well, all right. But
I like cold drinks, damn it.
So funny story. Years later, when Dazed and Confused, the movie came out, what does he fucking use when they're doing the drug deal in the bedroom? He has an ice pick in the fucking door.
An ice pick in the door.
Parents can't come in when they're in the middle of a fucking drug deal.
I was gonna say, do all kids in Canada have an ice pick? I mean, is that a thing? Is this another thing I'm not aware of?
It was. I took it from the drawer because nobody used it anymore. Because who uses an ice pick, right?
Right.
Well.
Anyways,
satanic murderers.
Top 4 ice picks.
Used it as a microphone to sing into when I was fucking air guitar.
That's next week's list. 4 top 4 ice picks.
Van Halen gave me a lot of facial stitches.
Yeah, I don't have anything else really to say about that one.
What do you got for 3?
3, I got another one from 5150 is Dreams. I'm not even sure why, but it just fucking sticks in my head when I go to listen to Van Halen. It's one of the first things I want to listen to.
It's a good album, man.
Yeah, it's solid. It's a lot like Unchained for me, like, or I'm sure it is for others, like a little overkill, but it's still good, right? Like,
no, and I would get goosebumps listening to it. I remember getting goosebumps listening to those, especially those 2 songs. But yeah, I just fell in love with it, and it's stuck with me. And like I said, so I had 1984, but I didn't really get into it until after 5150, and I went back and would re-listen to it, right? But I really do love, and I know I'm going to get shit for this, but I love Sammy's voice.
Who do I? No, I love Sammy's voice.
David's
voice is great.
Dude, the guy is 77, still singing 2-hour live shows.
Is he really?
And he's still, and they're just a half step down, man, from what the original tuning was. And
crazy.
Good God, man, it's amazing.
51, I have a hard time getting up the stairs. Like,
oh yeah,
probably all those ice picks.
Do we need to bring up the pickleball incident?
Yeah.
We do not. We do not. I don't know what you're talking about. Your peso, senor.
Joe, you signed an NDA. We can no longer talk about it.
Oh, is that what I signed? Oh, shit.
Hey, I didn't sign shit.
I guess start reading shit, man.
Nobody talk to me about any NDA. I can talk about whatever you want.
From my lip.
All right. And my number 2 is I'll Wait. From
1988. Yeah.
I don't know. I like the keyboards. I like the drums. I love the mix of the 2 of them. It's a hard rock pop song style for me, and I really like both of those genres. As Dink, you'll know for sure. Yes. I'm a huge pop guy from the 80s. I love hard rock. 1984 was one of the first albums I ever bought. I still have it on vinyl. It's at my parents' house. And
at your place.
Like a lot of stuff at this age, when I was about this age, I didn't really listen to the lyrics. I just listened to the music. And when I went back and listened to the lyrics, I liked the song even more. I just can't pinpoint an actual reason why. I just like the lyrics. I think they go well with the music, the cadence. They're kind of eerie almost. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's one of those songs that only Van Halen could write. You know,
Yeah.
even though it's a pop rock song, it's something I don't think it doesn't sound like any other band. Other band sounds like that song, and it's only a pop rock song that Van Halen could write.
Well, Joe, you said earlier who helped write that song?
Michael McDonald.
Yeah, well, that blew me away.
Yeah, and he didn't get credit for it. The band said they forgot to credit him.
Really?
So if you have the first pressing of Van Halen 1984, it does not mention him at all. Really? And then every from the second pressing on, it does, because he threatened to sue, and they're like, oh no, we just forgot. You're getting paid. We just and for Michael McDowell, it was more like getting his due publicly, because he was getting paid for the credit, I guess. But yeah, you
wouldn't think of him writing a song like this style.
No,
I wouldn't anyways.
He's a talented guy, man.
What do I know?
You wrote a lot of stuff.
I don't have said talent or any talent.
Well, if you think about the chorus, because I think that's the part he wrote, that's a very melodic vocal line. It's right up his alley, man. You know?
That's true. That's true.
Which is the amazing thing is it still sounds like something Dave would write or something Dave would sing, you know? And they're polar opposites when it comes to artists, you know?
And I know a lot of Van Halen fans don't really like that song.
I think I like it more now than I did when we were younger.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely, me too. Yeah, 100%.
Me too.
So, yeah, it's talking to two Canadians who aren't big Rush fans. There's a big segment of Van Halen fans that don't like keyboards, and there's a big segment of Rush fans that hate keyboards.
Right.
And I think they're probably the same people.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're missing out on a lot of good songs, man.
Well, and
it's okay. They'll be in our comments.
I got into both those bands when they were both into keyboards. Really, they both.
Yeah.
That's when I got into both of them. So for me, that's what I know, right? That's what You go back to what I originally experienced with them, right?
No.
And my last song is "Ain't Talking About Love."
Oh, classic.
Like 3 seconds in, I was hooked. Like the guitar is amazing. Like I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I just love it.
There isn't a lot to say, right? You just fucking love it.
I do. Like in some of the lyrics, might be on my top 10. If you said do your top rock songs of all time, it might be in my top 10 rock songs of all time.
Nice.
Yeah.
That song changed the landscape of hard rock. I mean, that literally was the song that changed everything.
Yeah.
I think people forget too that at one point Van Halen was like considered the heaviest band.
Right, I know, eh? Isn't that wild?
Weird.
Like,
when you listen to Van Halen once, like that's not heavy, but at the time it was like that shit was like
no, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one reason why they couldn't get a deal. It wasn't the fact they weren't talented.
Sure, Michael McDonald thought it was pretty fucking heavy.
Well, and one of the things I read was when they originally wrote it, it was supposed to be a parody of punk rock. So maybe that's why it's so hard sounding, right? Like
yeah, true.
Which I didn't know until I started looking at it. But I hadn't listened to that song in a while, and I'm like, I forgot how much I actually really like that song.
That's like when we were doing this, so many songs, right? I'm sure, Jimmy, if you totally change your list, I'm sure you felt the same way. Like, holy shit! Like, I love all these songs.
Yes. Well, and if you want to talk,
here I have grandfathered my list, and I wanted to change everything, but I'm like, nope.
So if you want to talk like honorable mention, I did that with 5150. I kept going between that and Pound Cake, because Pound Cake for me is something I'd never. That drill on the guitar at the beginning, I'm like, I had no idea how he's getting that sound, and the drum kicking in with it was just fucking. It's amazing on that song. I love
that album. Is so late high school.
That's one of my honorable mentions, right? Like, and the other honorable mention I had was "Beautiful Girls," but it was mainly because of. Do you remember that fucking Sandler and
SNL? Yes.
The shit's gay beer, the pool. Well, every time I hear that song, I think about it. Laugh my ass off every time. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Anyways, that's my list of my honorable mentions.
Yeah, that's solid.
Nice list. Yeah, solid list, man. Seriously, you could name just about any song, except for maybe like I don't know,
Van Halen 3.
Right, here they come.
I gotta be honest with you. I didn't listen to much after Carnal Knowledge, and I didn't listen to anything after you know, the last 3 or 4.
I listen. I mean, I have Van Halen demos. I've got Van Halen like first versions. I've got so much Van Halen stuff, man. I love the fact. The sad part is now, excuse me. You know how so I guess how it works is that Alex owns like the initial albums, the ones that are released, and then Wolfie kind of owns the stuff that's unreleased. I guess kind of in joint with Alex. So there's this weird thing. So everybody wants to unrelease stuff, right? But I mean, unless you're Prince, where you literally have thousands of songs and you're releasing box sets with 47 brand new tracks, right?
Right. Like
but the downside is now it's been so long now since Eddie's passed. It's been what now? 4 years? 5 years?
5, I think.
5 years, yeah. That people are getting itchy. They want to hear these things that Alex keeps talking about, and now they're slowly leaking online. So if you look on YouTube, you'll find some unreleased tracks there, or unreleased versions as well.
It's funny you say that because when I was looking at YouTube and I was looking for that SNL skit, they don't do it with the actual Van Halen song, not on YouTube, right?
No,
it's just the guitar riff is playing over and over and over. It's not the original.
Yep, it's like the whole music copyright crap. Because if you watch SNL on online streaming, they cut the music acts out because they don't have. It's awful.
But you mentioned Wolfgang. There is something that I've been trying to find a segue for. When Eddie died and that whole Distance, the song came out. It was planned to be released at that time without knowing that Eddie was going to pass. And song, I find it's a beautiful song, and that video. It's amazing. I'm impressed by the kid. He's got his own voice.
I think diehard fans know and musicians know, but I don't think the average person knows that Wolfie does everything on his albums. He does everything.
His stuff's wicked, right? Like his stuff's pretty heavy too. Some of it, it's awesome.
And I like the fact he's doing his own thing. He's not trying to mimic Dad. And if you mimic Dad, I wouldn't blame him. That's Dad. I mean, no offense.
That'd be awesome too.
And I would say this one thing too. I mean, there's only 2 guitars. There's Eddie. You can take, and it's a true thing that if you're a guitarist, I'm a guitarist. If I played Eddie's rig, I would sound like me. If Eddie played my rig, he would sound like Eddie. It's literally most of the sound is in the fingers, man.
Right.
And there's 2 people. Dweezil Zapp is close to kind of sounding like Eddie Van Halen, but the only person I've ever heard sound exactly like Ed is Wolf. Right. When he plays a Van Halen song, he sounds exactly like Dad. And that's so hard to do, man. Right. Yeah. It's a genetics. I got shitty genetics.
All right, Joe. I've been dying to hear yours.
Let's hear your claw fingers.
I was hoping I was going to floor you guys with mine, but apparently not, because I got a couple of maybe one, I guess 2, maybe I guess that are redos. But my number 4 is an album a lot of Van Halen fans don't like, and I'm not talking about Van Halen 3, but it's Balance. I love Balance. I think Balance is the unappreciated gem. But a lot of Van Halen, even Sammy fans, don't like Balance. I love it. But my number 4 is Amsterdam, man.
Nice.
That was on my list.
When that song kicks in, that song is, it encompasses everything and makes Sammy's Van Halen Van Halen. It's got the incredible intro. It's got that flowing, slinky guitar. And Ed doesn't get enough credit for being so slinky. He's got these riffs that just aren't there, just creamy and slinky. I mean, only he can pull them out, or I should say, only he can write the riffs he does. And partly because he was a drummer, but the other thing is because he's so vastly creative. I mean, there's probably 3 people or 4 people that accelerated the electric guitar. It's Les Paul, Leo Fender, Jimi Hendrix, and Eddie Van Halen. And the fact that crap media like Rolling Stone puts Eddie Van Halen number 10 or what the fuck he was at, number 3.
Like what the hell?
Yeah,
there's 4 people who have impacted that instrument, and only 4 people since then. And again, I'm an older guy, and I do listen to newer music, and there's a lot of exciting stuff happening with especially with percussion guitarists and stuff like that. But as far as pushing the instrument, it's those 4. But man,
any of them creamy.
Well, Jimmy,
point that out.
Jimmy had some creamy stuff, man.
We're just gonna let Creamy go by.
Jimmy had some
we're all
creamy
over
stuff.
Ice Pick, but we're just gonna let Creamy go by.
I've been waiting for a break to mention how you mentioned another man's creamy wrists.
I'm telling you, man.
You heard it here on Just Rank.
You want to know what gets me really creamy?
Really? We're just gonna let Creamy go by? That's hilarious.
Amsterdam.
That was awesome.
We're all over Ice Pick.
I can't see it right now.
But dude, you got the harmonics, which is quintessential Eddie. You got the pounding, just bass line is just driving the song forward, right? You got the drums are fucking amazing in that album.
It's a great song.
And that song.
It is a great song.
And like I said, like even though Dave's always been considered the better lyricist, I think Sammy always had he had such a natural way to come up with just very memorable melodies. I mean, you sing it, Sammy sings a chorus, you know it,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Amsterdam, man. I love that. As soon as that song kicks in, I think it should be the opening track on it, but it's not. I think that's just got that intro. It's like, oh yeah, there we go. Here we go. We're going on a ride
with the slinky wrist.
With the slinky creamy riff.
Creamy riff.
Creamy riff.
I thought my list was going to be easy, like you were saying. My list was not easy. I knew what number one was going to be because number one's always been my number one since it came out. But the other four were like, it could be again. And I picked these other three besides my number one because they're always in the top 5 or 6 or whatever. But my number 3 is Little Guitars.
Nice.
If you didn't know, that song is named after Ed's mini Les Paul. It's about this big. And you're only on YouTube if you can see that. Everywhere else, like it's about 15 inches long. But it was a small mini Les Paul that Les Paul gave him. And so he named a song after that Les Paul. And he actually recorded the song with that guitar as well. But let's see.
He recorded the song with anyone?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the only song he recorded within the Les Paul. Was that song.
Wow.
But it's got that flowing slinky sound to it. Again, it's a rock song, but the guitar at some points has no distortion. At some points has a little bit of distortion, but it's a pounding song. It's furthering down the road, I love that song because again, like Chris was saying before, when you hear it, you can almost feel it and you can almost see like the painting he's making. Just the sound is so big with all 4 of those guys doing their things so correctly. And again, it's just a song that only Van Halen could write. It's a pop song. It's a pop, not rock song. It's not a pop ballad, but it's clean guitar for the most part, and it's pumping along. And again, it's only a song they could write, I think. Especially like I said, a driving, rocking song with very to little no distortion on the guitar. It's pretty cool.
Right.
My number 2 is a redo, and this is my number 1 song off of 1984. It's Drop Dead Legs, man. That song again. That song again is only a song that Van Halen could write, man. That freaking guitar line again. You can tell he was a former drummer because it's got that rhythm to it. It's just nothing that anyone else has done before then. I don't think really can. Ed passed. He's got those slinky, sexy, creamy guitar licks.
Yeah,
there he goes again.
Whenever there was a creamy song, that song.
I'm telling you, like my cream. Wait, what?
Do we need to pause this?
Chris, get your ice pick.
Let me gather my feelings. You just implied
hold on. Wait,
me?
Why? What do you want me to do with that ice pick?
Lock the door.
Okay, locking the door better than murder.
It's air guitar time.
Oh shit! No, I'm with you, Joe. That song is fucking dynamite.
But I will say this too. Eddie always called it the Brown sound. But in 1984 is Ed's best sounding guitar. Whether it's a clean sound or a dirt sound. Man, that using those Marshalls like he did, nothing sounds better since or before then. I think if you take that sound he had in 1984, and I'm going to be a little sacrilegious here, it would even make Van Halen 1 and 2 sound even better. If he had the exact same guitar sound, it would just, he had perfected that point, man. He tore apart 1,000 guitars, and he had, I just love the sound of 1984. That guitar sound is just amazing.
But you couldn't have 84 sound without having 1 and 2.
Correct.
So.
Exactly. No, exactly. 1,000%. Yeah. It's a domino effect. Yeah. I'm just saying, if you could apply that same thing.
Chicken or the egg. Yeah.
Exactly. Tyson.
Or creamy wrists with an ice pick.
Creamy guitar lines. My number one Eddie Van Halen riff. Again, it only comes from a drummer. It was mentioned before, but 5150. The lyrics in that song are amazing. The guitar lick is all across the board, man. Again, only something Eddie could really come up with. The solo is, again, quintessential Ed. I think 5150, I will say, of all the songs he's written that we've heard, is by far and away, I think, his best guitar work. It's clean, it's precise. Even though he said he made up all of his solos on the spot, which I totally believe, and he said normally they would take the first take, sometimes 2 or 3, but otherwise he generally said he'd do 1 take. That would be it, because he wanted to feel it.
Fucking insane.
You imagine that?
Right.
I mean,
sorry, what'd you say, Dink? I missed that.
That's insane. Like, I always thought that was insane. He made them all up on the spot.
Yeah. That's the craziest
including
part.
Like Beat It, he made up. He didn't like he made up on the spot too, right?
2 takes, yeah.
2 takes.
Yeah,
and they're all memorable. I mean, a lot of his solos, even a layman could hum in their head. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Like, just nuts. Where, you know, as a guitarist, like, how many other people around the world have tried to repeat their own solo a million times, or someone else's solo, and he's just making them up on the spot.
And he did mention that a few times. The fact he thought was the downside of being live and having a popular song is he'd have to keep the solo semi close to what it was in the album, so he'd have to go back and learn it.
Right. Yeah. Dweezil Zappa says the same thing. Yeah. He doesn't have a great memory. He'll go off and do other things in life, and then he'll go back on tour, and he'll have to spend weeks relearning his song.
Relearning his own solo. Right. Yeah. Crazy.
But the other thing too is, and this is kind of separate, I don't think the band, much less Ed, gets enough credit, not only for being the amazing musicians they were and the innovator that he was on that instrument, but also when you take a line going down between 1984 and 5150, how we always say they're separate bands, because they're completely different sounds.
Yeah.
He plays, his playing completely changed.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. His sound, the way he played completely changed. He even said how he held the pick changed. It's like, how do you do that?
It would have been interesting if Dave didn't leave. Like, did that sound change? Why did the sound change?
You know,
evolution.
The rumor is, and I think Wolf might have confirmed but not confirmed, but there is supposed to be a version of Summer Nights out there with Dave's lyrics.
With
like
Dave, yeah.
With music, I don't know what
I wondered if they had ever performed or rehearsed or whatever any of.
Well, apparently the only one we really know of is Summer Nights, but it was named something different, but apparently the song was done. That was the one song that was done before Sammy joined the band. Huh. But yeah, it makes you wonder what one of the number one things was he changed his guitar that he recorded with. He used the Frankenstein for some of it, but he used a Steinberger for a lot of it.
Yeah.
And the Steinberger at the time was a completely different guitar. You could change keys, how the bridge worked. You could change keys in the middle of a song without the guitar going in tune or out of tune. Yeah. And that's one reason why it's hard to play a lot of 5150 guitar tracks in standard tuning, because he's changing keys with the bridge as he goes along in a couple of songs. So a lot of times the cheat is just to tune your guitar into a certain key and into certain different notes. And that way it's easier to play.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That album is, I just find that album fascinating. It's by far and away a way more popular and more popular. Not just, I'm not talking album size, but it was more popular than 1984 was. But
yeah, it was huge, right? Like,
yeah, but just the fact that sound did what it did and what they could do with that sound and how they change it. It's just, it became popular, but at the same time, it was so much more complex than I think anything else he had done before that. So I don't know.
That's what sucked me in. It sounded like nothing I'd ever heard before.
Yeah, at the time it was nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even if you take Dave's when he separated, Eat 'Em and Smile, right? Yeah, he had Crazy from the Heat, the EP, the summer beforehand, but Eat 'Em and Smile sounds very similar in sonically to 1984.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
even a bit, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Steve still sounds like Steve. It's still Steve's sound, Steve I. And Eddie obviously is Ed, but I mean, just the mix and everything else.
It has a Van Halen feel.
They're very complimentary albums, way more than say 5150 and the Smile were.
Yeah. Right. How the songs were written and put together are very Van Halen.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I have early demos of those too, and they pretty much sound the same how they did released, you know.
I have Eat 'Em and Smile, the Mexican version, and it's amazing.
So do I, yeah.
David Lee Roth sings everything in Spanish, and I think it's like Sonriso Salvejo.
Perfecto, señor.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I think. Did you just recently come back from Mexico?
Yes. The Mexican. I don't have any Mexican versions of anything.
Here's the funny thing about that album. So it was Billy Sheehan's idea to record it in Spanish because he's like, dude, a lot of Latinos listen to rock in California and at that time and Mexico. It'd be a great idea. Well, the funny thing is the album was the Spanish version of the album was a complete flop because when Latinos listen to it, they're like, oh, this is white man Spanish.
Yeah.
Right. He really didn't know Spanish, so he was singing a lot of things phonetically.
Right.
But it's still interesting now. I mean, I have the album too. It's on most streaming platforms too. So if you want to check it out on Apple Music and Spotify. But it's pretty interesting hearing these same songs you've heard a million times on Smile, and they're completely in Spanish, and it's like, what is going on? And Dave puts his own style to the Spanish too. So
call me crazy, but I have no desire to hear that.
No, I don't really have a big boner to hear that either.
You'd rather hear it. Oh, I forget. You'd rather hear it in French.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sit down.
Well, one
you got an honorable mention there, Frenchie.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
My honorable mention. Here Comes the Stones. But someone needs to say something. Someone needed to say something good about this album. Okay. Everyone hates it, including myself. Everyone does.
Want to go?
3 people have just left the chat.
So it was a one-show thing. It was nice to talk to you guys. I'm sorry.
I'm a guitarist. I love that. I love Gary. I think I've just seen Gary twice this year. The guy is 63. Still, he probably sounds better now than he did when he recorded the Extreme stuff and everything. The guy sounds.
I believe that because the newest Extreme material is wicked.
The last Extreme album is
really good.
Dude, it's amazing, and they hit every genre in that album, and they do it very well. But admittedly, when Sammy left the band again, and they brought on Gary, I was like, this is the perfect match. Okay, Extreme was very very Van Halen like. A lot of people were excited. Van Halen fans weren't. They wanted Dave to come back. It wasn't going to happen, but other people were excited like me. Because I love Extreme. I still love Extreme.
I like
Call
Extreme.
me up,
I like them.
But I will say this: the one song I think is really good on there is "Fire in the Hole." It still sounds like something Sammy would sing. The music sounds like something to be off balance. It sounds like soberish Eddie Van Halen. Not ripping on a guy for going through his problems, but the song sounds completely different than the rest of the album. I think Fire in the Hole is a very good song.
I should
I'm
give
not
it
gonna rip on it because the album's awful. But I have to pick as an honorable mention because, like I said, no one ever.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent honorable mention.
Good spotlight. So
none of us would have done that.
I got to be honest, I didn't give it a fair shake. I didn't even listen to it.
Yeah, I should probably when I think of Fire in the Hole, that was the end of the Mexico trip. But
I was gonna say, if you
after the trauma from the pickleball incident,
yeah, why don't we talk about pickleball?
We don't talk about pickleball. It's like Fight Club. We don't talk about pickleball.
Hey Joe,
I would say that. Yeah,
I don't, Joe. Joe, I don't know if you caught that, but he referenced Van Halen 3 and Montezuma's Revenge in the same sentence.
I know it was impressive. It was impressive. All he needed was an ice.
That's a high five. You're next to me in my picture. High five to you on that one.
Yeah, you're over here.
You're below me.
My hands are sore, so
yeah, no, Jimmy's below me. Dink's down there. I don't know.
Here's a story of a man named Rudy.
Ooh, hey, while you're down there,
Marcia.
But I will say, like I said, the album, I hate Van Halen 3 is unfortunately awful. Everything about it is bad. Fire and Hole is the only good song. Even the song was Without You. Without You is weird because that's Eddie Van Halen trying to play as Nuno Bettencourt. Even the solo sounds like a Nuno Bettencourt solo. It's fucking weird. It's a weird song. It sounds nothing like Van Halen. It sounds like Van Halen trying to be extreme. It's weird. But yeah, even if you don't disregard the album, just give Fire in a Hole a chance and pretend, just give it.
That's how much I haven't revisited. Is that Without You an original, or is that like a cover?
They're all original.
Or Nielsen?
All original.
Motley Crue,
including Josephina.
It's not a Motley Crue cover.
Actually hip.
Yeah, including Josephina. And what was it? How many say I? Like, what is that? How many say I? What the hell kind of lyric is that?
Sounds like something by Carlos Santana.
That would be better. It would be a lot better.
I love Santana. All right.
Anyhow, that's my list.
That was a good list, man.
Nice.
Didn't end strong there, but I get it.
Didn't end strong.
There are only two.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's only two samesies.
Yeah. Turns out.
That's
I have no original thoughts. Apparently, that's what we're saying here.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting, right? But I guess I got a pretty big catalog, so that's good.
Well, what were the same ones? You two had 5150, and then Dink and Joe. What did you have? You had the same one.
Drop Dead Legs.
Drop Dead Legs. Yeah.
Not bad for. I mean, yes, they got a bigger catalog, but there tends to be a lot of typical favorites.
Right.
And that's why I tried taking my my number 5 spot, the honorable mention. I tried to take it different because I was going to originally do like favorite solo or favorite. I don't know. I tried being different. I'm like, I'm going to try to pick a good song from an album everyone hates, including Van Halen.
Right.
Including me.
Including
Casting
Jimmy.
My ballad.
Jimmy hates Van Halen 3.
Hate it.
Get in line, man. It's a long
it's a long line.
Okay, so question. Have you got any of you guys seen them in concert?
Twice.
I don't think so.
I was gonna say, Jimmy, you gotta use your voice because we have people not watching us. Yeah, I seen them twice with Dave.
Twice with Dave.
I never had the luxury with Dave. I saw him on Monsters of Rock, which was OU 812, and I did see the Balance Tour in Tempe.
Oh, see, I never saw him with Hagar. I wish I did.
Yeah.
And you saw both Daves in Minnesota?
Yeah, later too. So I saw them in 2008 when they're all really good.
Oh, 08. Wow.
Yeah, and then I saw them in 2012 when everyone's good except for Dave. And Dave decided he was either
like Dave was horrible now, right?
Or when he was saying the lyrics, he was literally just speaking them, and it was awful. Right. The band, and unfortunately, because the band was amazing in 2012.
I wish.
And that was those were both Wolfgang, right?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, the true, as Ed would say, the true Van Halen, because you had the 3 Van Halens and Dave. Yeah,
convenient.
I know we've kind of gone along here, but I just gotta say, like everyone else does, all the people that he gets credit again from Van Halen fans, but he doesn't get from the average person. Michael Anthony made the vocals sound what they did.
Oh man, and I totally had forgotten. And when I revisited some of those songs, I'm like, because you can hear his bass, which you probably ignored the first 17 times you listened to it, unless you were really listening for bass, and you ignored his vocals. You're like, holy shit, so good.
But here's people would say he paired his simple bass parts because Eddie was so complicated and probably difficult to write for at the time. But at the same time, he wrote the right bass parts for the songs.
Yeah, he wrote to the song. Yeah.
Always wrote to the song.
His vocals are just amazing. You go to Women and Children First, and Michael Anthony's harmonies are just monsters. Just yeah.
Again, I don't think the average fan knows. Yeah, there's a tracking of Eddie and track of Dave, and no, Alex is not tracked at all in most of the lyrics or most of the vocals, but it's typically just layers of Michael.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which sounds creamy too.
Nice. It was that creamy Michael.
Just
layers and creaminess. And
I thought we were just gonna record, just name these episodes like
by being inappropriate.
by the subject, but I think we're gonna have to call this one creamy.
Creamy wrists.
Creamy Halen. Oh shit.
Well, you know what? Hey, thank you guys for doing this. This is amazing. This turned out
this is fun, man.
Pretty awesome.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
And there's more to come. We've got lots more ideas, so there's going to be lots more ice picks and creaminess to
right.
A lot more cream to come, baby.
Wrong thing to do. No.
We're not doing.
Hopefully, my kids aren't going to listen to
this.
No. We should do another one, and maybe a little more specific in a time frame, and throw that together and see what people think about that.
Yep,
we should
and do it. That's a great idea because they can find us everywhere. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're on the Twitter now known as X, which everyone still says. No one just says X. We're on Blue Sky. So
I messaged today on Blue Sky.
If you're a tree hugger like me, you're on Blue Sky. We are everywhere. So you'll find us in every podcast platform, including Apple Podcasts. You'll find us on Spotify. The best way to help us out is give us a like on the old YouTubes, and also comment and rate us on every podcast platform that you listen to. That would help us out. Gets us a little more recognized, gets us up in the algorithm that everyone always talks about, and everyone's like, what's the algorithm? Well, it's L. His last name's Goritum. No one knows. No one knows. No, but yeah, join us next time, and we'll surprise you next time with a completely different topic. My name is Joe, and for Chris and Dink and Jimmy, this is Just Ranked. We out of here.
Later.
Yep. Peace.